Grr, arg.
Welcome to one of my favorite sci-fi movies of all time. This is the Mixtape Podcast. I'm your host. My name is Dean, and I'm joined by my co-host Marcelo Inostroza. And this week, we are doing, like I said, one of my favorite sci-fi movies of all time. We are doing Total Recall, not the reboot. Never. We are doing the 1990 Total Recall Arnold Schwarzenegger, directed by Paul Verhoeven, written by Ronald Shusett, Dan O'Bannon, and Gary Goldman. And it is based on the 1966 short story We Can Remember It For You Wholesale by Philip K. Dick. Now, if you don't know what Total Recall is about, it is about this. When a man goes to have virtual vacation memories of the planet Mars implanted in his mind, an unexpected series of events forces him to go to the planet for real. So the opening scene, we're on Mars and there are two people in spacesuits and they hold each other's hand and the man slips and his helmet cracks and he begins to suffocate. Listen, the prosthetic work in this movie is like unparalleled. Honestly, when I saw this when I was like, I saw it too soon. I was like 10 or something when I saw it. But I thought it was him. I was like, oh no, Arnold Schwarzenegger, how can they do that to him? But obviously when I'm older, it's obviously not him. But yeah, the aesthetics in this movie is like prosthetics. Sorry, it's not even prosthetics. What is it? It's like dummies, isn't it? That they used?
No, it's prosthetic. No, it's puppetry.
Puppetry. Yeah, it is. No, it's really, really cool. Anyway, his helmet cracks and he begins to kind of suffocate. And this is, we're going to learn these two people are Quaid and Melina. And then Quaid wakes up. So it was all a dream. And then we meet Laurie, which is Quaid's wife, which is played by Sharon Stone. And we learn he's had that dream many times before. And she's a bit pissed off because he keeps dreaming about another woman. And rightly so. What do you think about dream sequences that start off a movie? Yay or nay? Because I know a lot of screenwriters are kind of against it.
I am going to have to say yay, because there are several times in my screenplays that I've started out my movies or my TV shows with dreams, but I do that for a specific purpose. And I think that most screenplay writers that get angry at other screenplay writers who do that, those screenplay writers make those sequences because they don't know what to do. Oftentimes when dream sequences are used, they're used to outwardly give exposition to the audience. That's lazy to me. But I, like you, I grew up with this movie. I had it on VHS. I love this fucking movie to death. I think the first scene of this movie is absolute genius because it sets the table and right away you actually know from the get-go what your main character wants, what he's obsessed with. And as the movie goes along, there's a sense of tension that builds up as Quaid goes through the story. It's fantastic.
Yeah, this movie just works as a screenplay. It just, there's nothing, I don't know, maybe there's nitpicks. We'll get to it if there are. I can't remember any. But the next scene is Quaid. He's watching TV in his living room and the news is on and we learn that there's unrest on Mars. And they say it's like terrorist attacks versus the government, but it's really freedom fighters. But the news, the media labels them as anybody that's against the government a terrorist, but I'm going to call them freedom fighters because that's what they end up actually being at the end of the movie. So we meet Cohagen, which is, he's a dictator, and he wants to mine the planet Mars to make money, but the freedom fighters don't want him there, which is basically the locals don't want him there because he controls everything. And then Quaid tells Laurie that he wants to move to Mars. He doesn't know why though, but he wants to go. He's just got this feeling like he has to be on Mars. And Laurie is basically dead set against the idea. And he tells her he was meant for something more than this. He wants to be somebody. And Laurie says to him, you're the man that I married. And I'm like, it's not really enough, is it? It's not really enough. So what did you think about that?
I really, really like this scene because I think that the screenplay writer paints Laurie as a caring wife when she says, "You're enough, Quaid. You're the man that I married." And by the way, Sharon Stone, she looks $1 billion in this movie.
Hot.
Oh my God.
Damn.
She looks so delicious.
Yeah.
But you know, I really identify with Quaid's need to want to be a little bit more than what he is. Who cannot relate with that feeling? So I really think that was a good idea by the screenplay writer to give Quaid that character quirk so he could make the character more relatable. Not to mention, that Quaid himself is a construction worker, if I'm not mistaken, correct?
Yes, yeah, it's construction. So on his way to work, Quaid sees a commercial for a company called Recall Incorporated, a company which implants memories of a vacation. So you don't actually have to physically go. They can implant memories to make you believe that you've gone. And I'm going to go through why that's a terrible idea later on when we actually get to the Recall place. So he's at work, he's a construction worker, like Marcelo said. And Quaid asks his coworker about Recall, like what's it all about? And his coworker just was like, "No, it's dangerous. Don't do it. There was a guy that was lobotomized. Like, it's not worth it." It's interesting. Paul Verhoeven sticks on the coworker. Like the camera is on the coworker, and he gives Quaid this look as if he was scared that Quaid even asked the question. So immediately you're like, okay, something's up with this coworker. Yeah, something's up with him. And so Quaid just completely disregards what his coworker said. He's like, yeah, nah. So he goes to Recall anyway. And he asks for the Mars package. And the guy says he won't be able to tell the difference between the implanted memories from the real ones. So basically, it'll feel as though he's been to Mars. That's the first half of the scene. I'm going to go through the second half of the scene. The problem that I have is that's dangerous. Imagine people can implant memories that aren't real, but that you think is real. Like, yeah, it's going to be a hard pass for me. Like, don't know. No, I don't like it. What do you reckon? Would you do it? Would you do it? Yes or no?
Absolutely not. Because here's the thing, guys. Memories make you who you are. Memories are the building blocks of you. And if someone can go in there and manufacture memories that you didn't even have, who's to say what kind of person that you're going to become after the memories are implanted? It's very, very dangerous, and it's very, very ill-advised. But with the way society is going, I wouldn't put it past them if in a couple of years, a company like the one that we see in Total Recall even thinks about doing something like this.
Oh no, it's coming. And the sad part is, a lot of people are going to do it. That's the really sad part. It's like, yeah, I've been to the top of Machu Picchu and I've climbed Everest, and it's like, but have you? Like, it's just, yeah, it's giving people experiences they didn't actually have to make them believe that they had, and it's just, yeah, it's for me, it's all types of wrong. Anyway, moving along with the scene. So the guy that's selling it to him, he says there's a new thing that they've got called the ego trip. It's basically offering different identities for the trip to Mars. So you could be a millionaire playboy, you could be a sports hero, you can be an industrial tycoon, or you could be a secret agent. And Quaid straight away chooses secret agent. So he's ready in the machine. It's this really cool concept that I don't even know who came up with the concept. It's like this really cool sci-fi thing that you get strapped into, and then you get like, you know what it's similar to? It's similar to the de-evolution thing in Super Mario Brothers that they sit in. The chair is similar.
Yeah, the design of the actual chair to where they actually where they actually implant your memories is quite astounding, and it does look like the de-evolution chair in Super Mario Brothers.
Yeah. So he's in the machine, and they ask him to select a woman from the screen for his love interest as a secret agent on Mars. And the composite he makes of the woman looks exactly like the woman that is from his dreams. And then we switch to the manager, and he's talking to a new client. And then the scientists, where Quaid is, start going crazy. And the manager comes in, and Quaid is going schizo, like absolutely schizo, yelling and saying, "You blew my cover, you blew my cover. And my name isn't Quaid, stop calling me Quaid." And the nurse says he keeps going on and on about Mars, like he's actually been there. And the manager says, he's just acting out the secret agent implant. And she says, "We haven't implanted it yet." And the guy's like, huh. So the manager freaks out, and he says, "Put him in a cab, erase his files, and this guy was never here." Now, this is interesting because you have two concepts going on in this movie, which is what I like, because it kind of messes you up. Because by the end of the movie, it's like, is he really an undercover secret agent? Or is it just the memories that have been implanted to make him believe that he's done all this stuff? So it could go either way, which is what I like about this movie. So what do you think?
I'm in complete agreement with you. There is a point in this movie where something happens where Quaid is presented with a choice, and you're like, wait a minute. is everything that he just went through the simulation that he paid for at Total Recall, or is his version, is the story of this movie the fact that he was a secret agent and then he got imprinted with this other personality for this other reason. So this movie does a great job at balancing two different complicated storylines, but the way that the screenplay writer handled it and the way that Paul Verhoeven sort of weaved the visuals of the story is just fantastic, because you never really know what the truth exactly is, at least for the first part of this movie, which is fantastic.
Yeah, exactly. On his way home, Quaid sees his co-worker who basically pulls a gun on him, and some thugs come out and grab him. And he says, "You blabbed, Quaid. You blabbed about Mars." And Quaid's like, "What are you talking?" He has no idea what this guy's talking about. And then Quaid basically kicks the shit out of all of them, kills them all, but doesn't quite know how, because he's just a construction worker. Like, there's no way he could have that knowledge. And still at this point, you're like, is this real, or is this like a memory? Like, you still don't know what's going on. But I like that because it showed he could fight. It showed he could defend himself, and it showed quite early on in the movie that there are people that are after him. So it's kind of starts the chase, but you don't know why people are after him, which is what I like. Until the end, you're like, oh, this is why people want to kill him. But I liked the mystery in it. What do you think?
I think it was a very wise choice by the screenplay writer to give Quaid the character trait of not knowing how to defend himself, except when he's attacked by these thugs who want to take him somewhere for some specific reason. And by the way, can I just give a shout out to the stunt people in Paul Verhoeven movies, because Paul Verhoeven loves fucking squibs, and this movie
He does.
is no different.
Squib City,
because this movie is so violently delicious. I loved it when I was a kid, like you guys saw it when I was way too young. It was so good, so good, so good.
You reckon there's more squibs in this or RoboCop?
RoboCop.
Yeah, I think that too. I think that too.
Yep.
So Quaid ends up going home and he tells Laurie what happened. And then she starts attacking him. He's like, what? And she holds her own, though, against Arnie. She holds her own. And you can tell that she knows martial arts and all that. Obviously, he ends up overpowering her because he's Arnie. And she's Sharon Stone. So anyway, she says to him she only met him 6 weeks ago. And their marriage is a memory implant. And he's like, what? And he starts saying, what about this? What about this? And she's like, implant, implant, implant. So she ends up calling some thugs, some goons, and they chase Quaid through the subway. And he's got an implant in his head, and they track him with it because they've got a little tracking device. But he ends up getting away. It's a really cool scene, actually, the chase through the subway. It's a really, really, really cool scene. We do learn that Cohaagen was... What have I written here? Fucking scribbled my notes again. Wait, we do learn that Cohaagen was the one that... Oh, implanted. Fucking got it. Implanted. I couldn't read it. What is this? That implanted Quaid in the first place and wants him returned for re-implantation. So again, she's saying, oh, I'm not real. And you're like, is this just the secret agent thing? It's so confusing. But anyway, what do you think?
I find this movie pretty much almost flawless. My only problem with it is one big glaring thing. If Cohaagen is so concerned about the secret that that Arnie has in his head, the easiest way to take care of it is, why doesn't he kill him? But there are several instances in this movie, at least I think, that could that just fucking shoot the guy in the head.
You know why he doesn't? Because he needs him to do something that comes up later.
Yeah,
that's why he doesn't.
Yeah, that's true. And as a kid, you know what? Watch this movie as an adult. There's so much more complexity to it. As a kid, you like it because of Sharon Stone, you like it because of all the action, and you like it because of all the blood. But when you watch it as an adult, you get this whole nother layer to it that I really, really appreciate.
Yeah, no, exactly. So Quaid, when he gets away from the guys that are chasing him, he gets a hotel room and he gets a call telling him that he's bugged. He's got a tracker in his head. And this guy that says he's a friend of his leaves a case for him next to a payphone. It says everything you need is in the case. So Quaid goes downstairs and he grabs it. And then the thugs see him and he gets in a Johnny cab.
Where am I? You're in a Johnny Cab.
I mean, what am I doing here?
I'm sorry. Would you please rephrase the question? Huh?
How did I get in this taxi?
The door opened. You got in. Hell of a day, isn't it?
Ever since I've seen this movie, my one dream is to have a ride in a Johnny Cab. That's all I've ever wanted to do. Obviously, it's not real, but come on, is there not someone out there, an engineer, a mechanic, that could create a legitimate working Johnny Cab? There has to be, because I want one. I want one.
Dean,
Yes.
I'm right there with you. I would love to get in a Johnny Cab, but I would be afraid not to pay these people.
Because he goes mental.
Yeah.
And he crashes and he fucking blows up his own car.
Johnny Cab, your destination, please. Just drive, go, 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 go.
It's like rip him out.
It's great. I love it. I love it.
Oh my God. Yeah. So anybody out there, if they can build me a Johnny Cab, be fucking grateful. Anyway, let's go on with the scene. He gets away. And then Quaid, he gets to an abandoned construction site with the bag, and he opens it, and there's money in it, and there's ID cards, and there's passports, and there's like this weird device that makes him a mirror image of himself, which comes back later. It's a really, really cool device. It's like a watch thingy. And whatever he does, his image is projected like 10 feet in front of him, so it looks like he's over there, but he's not. It's just an image. I love that, and that's going to come. That's a setup that'll come back later. Anyway, he opens the case and he presses play on a video from himself, basically telling him his real name is Hauser and he works for Cohagen, but then learned how corrupt Cohagen was and switched to the freedom fighters' side. And he has enough information in his head to expose Cohagen. And he tells him how to remove the bug from his head and tells him to get his ass to Mars. I'm not even going to do the Arnie accent. The goons arrive and realize he's taken the bug out of his head, and then they see the end. They see the end of the video that says "Get your ass to Mars," which is really, really intelligent, because sometimes in movies the bad guys show up where the good guys are, and it's like, how the fuck do you know they're there? There's no way you could have known that they're there. But in this movie, it actually tells you. Well, it shows you that's where he's going, so that's where the goons go. But I really love the scene where he's pulling out the tracker from his nose, because again, it's like, it's puppetry, but it just looks so real. It's so uncomfortable to watch, but it is so awesome how they do that, and they just don't do that these days, and it's just a shame. They can, they don't. But anyway, thoughts?
The problem with the special effects wizards of today is that everything is done in the computers. A lot of there are very few people in Hollywood that have the patience or the wherewithal to hire people that know how to work with practical gags and gadgets and stuff like that. The other thing that I love about the scene is that you mentioned it before. This screenplay is so expertly woven. I love how each scene flows right into the next. Like there's not a down moment in this movie. Everything pushes forward until the conclusion of the story.
So now, okay, we're on Mars at immigration. This is legit one of the best scenes in the movie. I absolutely fucking love this scene. So this big red-haired woman approaches the TSA for the Americans officer, the immigration officer. Hands her her passport, and he asks her, "How long are you staying on Mars?" And she says 2 weeks. And then he goes, "Okay, stamps, okay, approved." And then he asks if she's brought any fruits or vegetables to the planet. And she says 2 weeks. And you're like, huh? And then he looks at her kind of weird. And then she starts to like glitch the fuck out, right? And it's just so creepy. And you're like, what's going on? And then the head like parts and like Quaid is underneath, so it's like a mask, but it's so cool the way that it looks. And then Cohagen's goons are there and they shout, what is it? Oh, they shoot, not shout. They shoot at Quaid, but end up shooting the glass instead. Now, this is a setup for what happens later on, because when you're on Mars and you shoot the glass, it's like it's a dome. All the oxygen starts sucking out, and it's like a wind tunnel. So that's a setup for what happens later on, and then Quaid escapes. But I just want to give a shout out. I want to give a shout out because nobody ever does, to the actress, the red-haired actress that played I don't know, the redhead woman. And she doesn't even have a name, right? Her name is Priscilla Allen, and she does a fantastic job. Unfortunately, she passed away about 10, 15 years ago, but she does an amazing job because this is one of the most iconic scenes of the movie, and I don't think she gets enough praise for her small role that she's done. But anyway, what did you think of the scene? Because as everybody already knows, I loved it.
I love the scene because like I've said countless times in this episode, I watched this movie on repeat as a kid, and I watched it with my grandfather. And my grandfather always had that joke. Like anytime that I had a doctor's appointment or he was going to give me something, he would always say 2 weeks. That's all. That's all he said. So that scene in particular works for me on two levels. One, because it's such a fantastic and iconic scene, like Dean said, but it also works on a personal level for me because I have that connection with the scene because of my grandfather.
Yeah, exactly. So now Quaid's on the train on Mars, and he overhears that Cohagen has raised the price of oxygen again. And you're like, what? What a prick. So he has complete control over everything on Mars, including the oxygen. And I'm telling you, if our governments could figure out a way to fucking charge us for oxygen, you bet your fucking ass that they would do it. Just like Spaceballs. You know, in Spaceballs where he's got the Perrier, like air in like the drawer? It's exactly like that. They would totally, and I'm like, oh my God, this is like the future. Anyway, so he looks out the window. And there's like a huge mound that looks like a pyramid. And then we learn it's the pyramid mine, and they've just found alien artifacts in it. And he's like, okay. So Quaid goes to check into a hotel when the clerk informs him that he's left something in the safe deposit box from his last visit. And it's a flyer for a bar called The Last Resort. And on the back, it says, for a good time, ask for Melina. And then we meet Benny, who's a cab driver. And he says the rebels, or the freedom fighters, want more freedom and more air. So now we know what they want, because the news kind of goes they're terrorists. But Benny actually says, no, they just want freedom and they want air. Like they don't want to pay to breathe, which is like fair enough. So what do you think about the introduction of Benny? And and also when he goes to the hotel, again, safe deposit box, it shows him where to go next. So he's not just wandering around, which is, it didn't feel forced, because it's like, yeah, he's been there before because he's a secret agent. Of course he's been there before. So I love everything about this movie. Maybe I'm biased. I just can't nitpick it. There's no fucking nitpicks. Anyway, thoughts?
I love this movie too because, to back up what Dean said, everything that the hero character does in this movie propels him to figure out the mystery of this movie. He doesn't just do it without any explanation. The screenplay writer took the time to think the story out, and it makes fucking sense. Also, I would like to address something that Dean said before. If our two governments could charge us for air, they would.
Yeah, $5 a breath.
Yeah, but in reference to what do I think of the cab driver that Quaid has to drive him to the whorehouse, as a kid I really liked this character, but he even as a kid there was something shady about him, and I was like, there's something not right about you. I don't know what it is, but
Yeah.
but I smell something on you.
Yeah, I never liked Benny as a character. They tried to set him up as someone really jovial and happy and like, yeah, this and that. But I was like you, I was like, yeah, I don't like you. I don't know why. Maybe it's the way the actor played it. I don't know. I don't like his character.
Yeah, but also the funniest thing about the character is that he says various times throughout the movie, I got 5 kids to feed.
He keeps bringing it up. I know. We get it.
And I'm like, what the fuck? Yeah. And I'm like, what the fuck, dude? We get it. Stop bringing it up, please.
Exactly. Like 20 times. Like, yeah, okay, yeah. If I was Quaid, I'd be like, what are your kids' names right now? He'd be like, Anyway, so now Quaid arrives at the Last Resort bar, and we meet Melina, the woman, and it's the woman from Quaid's dreams. And she addresses him as Hauser, and then she takes him up to a room and she slaps him and then she hugs him. But he says he can't remember her. He can't remember anything. Now, she thinks he's still working for Cohagen, and he says, I don't know anything. I don't know anything about anything. And she she doesn't believe him because she actually says, like, he's lied to her before to get information. And at this point, we don't know if he's really telling the truth either. So we're in the dark as much as Melina is in the dark. But as a character, I really like Melina. She's tough. She's funny. She's, she's pretty. She's intelligent. She's not in it heaps, but I actually really, really like her character, and I really like the setup of her character because her character is like supposed to be a prostitute. But she's so much more than that, and that's why I just love the way that her character was written. Thoughts?
She's a character with multiple levels. She is a type of character that, as a screenplay writer, you dream of writing.
Yes.
And she's a character from a writer. I'm talking about me because I really gravitate towards writing females, and she's a character that I really gravitate towards because I like strong women. I like women who can take care of themselves. And Melina really, really fit the bill on most of my criteria. The only thing that she didn't fit the bill on is she didn't have an accent.
She has an American accent. It's not good enough for you, is it? Not good enough?
Yeah, no. I mean, come on. You know what I want.
I know. Okay, question. Melina or Laurie?
Laurie.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
I mean,
Laurie.
even after she fucking turns, it's like, nah, Laurie.
Yeah, Laurie. Laurie all the way. Laurie all the way.
So now Quaid's in his hotel room and a man comes to his room and tells him that none of this is real. And he's still at recall in the chair. And now you're like, is he at recall in the chair? Like, you have no fucking clue what's going on now. It just gets more and more confusing. And then Laurie comes in saying she's at recall trying to wake him up. And then this guy gives Quaid a pill to take in order for him to wake up. He's like, if you take it, you'll fall asleep, you'll wake up. But if you don't, you'll be stuck in this kind of hell forever. Now, Quaid puts the pill in his mouth, and the guy's pretty animate about telling him to swallow. But then Quaid sees one little bead of sweat coming down this guy's face and knows instantly that he's bullshitting. Then he just shoots him in the head. Then goons crash into the room. Laurie has a fucking spaz attack. They drag him out, and when they get to the elevator, it opens up, and Melina is there with a gun, and she kills them all, fucking dead. And I'm like, that's hot. That's fucking hot. There is a fight. Oh my God, there's a girl fight between Melina and Laurie, and I'm like all about it. But you know why? Because it's a fight. It's a Mortal Kombat. It's a Street Fighter fight. It's not I'm going to pull your hair and scratch you with nails. No, this is a fucking down, dirty, fucking karate kicking fight, and I'm all for it. I wish it lasted longer. And then Melina fucking kicks the shit out of Laurie, and then Quaid ends up shooting Laurie in the head. And Melina has the funniest line in the movie.
That was your wife? What a bitch.
Hold up. This is actually my favorite scene in the movie because I mentioned it in the opening. I really love how this movie presents the audience with not knowing what's true. And the scene in the hotel room when the guy comes in and says, I have been implanted in your experience to try and get you to come out of it because you're in too deep. And I love when Laurie comes in and says, honey, this is a last ditch resort. I am at recall. We are trying to reach you. Just swallow the pill and you'll wake up. It's a scene that sort of reminds me of The Matrix. It's really, really, really similar to that for me. The girl fight between Melina and Laurie is fantastic. I love that. It's so great. And it's just great. I mean, look, I love Sharon Stone to death, but hey, I'll give Melina credit in this one scene because she fucking kicked Laurie's pretty ass into next week.
Exactly. So Quaid, Melina, and Benny, they're running away from more of Cohagen's goons, and they run to the last resort, and there's like a secret entrance passageway in the last resort, and everybody that works there knows about it, and they go in the secret passageway, and then Cohagen knows this. He doesn't know where they are. He doesn't know about the secret passageway, but he knows that they're somewhere and these people are hiding them. So what does he do? He cuts off that section, and then he turns off the fucking air supply, which is like the most dick move you could possibly do. And then we find out Cohagen worked his workers that were working in the pyramid mine because he was mining what is it? It's a fucking He was mining like a mineral, sorry. And he worked his workers to death and then built cheap domes with crap filtration, which turned people into mutants. Because there's a lot of mutants walking around, and the reason they're walking around is because the filtration system is shit and it mutated them. Then they're informed that Cohagen shut off the air supply. So the people in the section are actually told, yeah, your air supply is cut off. They don't know why. Some of them don't know why, some of them do. But I think that really upped the stakes, because now you've got like hundreds of lives, and it's like, what are they going to do? Are they going to save them? Are they not going to save them? Yeah, imagine being a tyrant and having control of air. Again, if our governments could do that, I can see them. What's the word? Getting hot under the collar just thinking about charging people for air. I can feel it from them. Anyway, thoughts.
That was a really good scene, and I really like the way that Cohagen sort of, he's such a fucking unredeemable character, but I think as a screenplay writer, you had to make a character like this for the hero to defeat, because there's one point in this movie when he's talking to Richter and he gets so pissed at Richter for not catching Quaid that he fucking has a fish tank in his office and he fucking kicks over the fucking fish tank.
Oh, I hated that.
What kind of a fucking asshole does that?
I hated that. Yeah.
He's such a classic 80s villain. I love him.
So Quaid is taken by the freedom fighters because he's gone through that little passageway, and they've taken him into a room and told him that Quato, which is the leader of the rebels, of the freedom fighters, will make him remember what he's lost, because Quaid is like, I don't know why they want me, but I know that I've got some sort of knowledge, but I don't know what it is. And then they say, no, Quato will reveal the knowledge to you. So this guy that's taken him into a room, he turns away from Quaid, and when he turns back, Quato is actually attached to one of the freedom fighters' chest. Like, he's a mutant. And I'm like, oh, that's pretty cool. Like, this guy, Cohagen has been fucking searching for this guy Quato for so fucking long, and he doesn't realize that it's just a normal, like, it's not a normal guy, but this mutant is actually attached to this guy's chest. And if he wears a shirt, you don't even know that he's there, which I think is a really ingenious thing to come up with. I don't know if Philip K. Dick came up with it or the screenwriters of this movie, because I haven't read the original short story, but I thought that was really ingenious. So then we find out in the pyramid mine is an ancient reactor that, if activated, produces breathable air for Mars and also destroys all the turbinium, which is the mineral that Cohagen mines, thus ending the reign of Cohagen. So then he has no more minerals and he has no more control over the air supply. So that's what is in Quaid's head, this information, that if this reactor is turned on, then Cohagen is fucked. And then Cohagen's men bust in, and then Benny kills Quato, because Benny's a double agent. See, there was a reason why we hated him. And yeah, he works for Cohagen, and Quaid and Melina get taken to Cohagen because they get kidnapped. So, thoughts?
I really like the fact that the screenplay writer waited until we absolutely had to know the reason why Arnie's character was so important to the villain of this movie, because there are a lot of movies out there that would have not trusted their audience and would have given their audience a story on a silver platter. But I like how the screenplay writer in this specific instinct trust the audience, and we discover things along with Quaid. There's a technique that he uses in this movie that I like a lot. There are some screenplay writers that like their characters to know things before the audience. I don't necessarily agree with that. So I like that in this movie, the screenplay writer does the actual reverse of what I just said.
Yeah.
And I think that it's a fantastic storytelling technique that services the story very, very well in this instance. It's just so great. And the fact that Cohagen has control of Mars built on a lie, he could actually give the entire planet air, but he is so consumed with having power that he just doesn't want to. It's such a fucking narcissistic move. It's so well written and drawn out. It's so well done.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So Cohagen tells, and this is another like fucking turn out of left center. Cohagen tells Quaid him and Hauser came up with the idea of Quaid to weed out Quato. He then sees a video of himself, Quaid's video of Hauser, which is him, congratulating him on leading them to the rebel leader, Quato. He then tells him, that's my body, so they're going to have to remove the Quaid implant so he can go back to being Hauser. And you're sitting there like, what? Okay. So at the first part of the movie, he's Quaid, and then this guy Hauser says, oh, I was working for Cohagen, and now I'm Quaid because Cohagen is corrupt. And now you learn that Cohagen and Hauser came up with Quaid to weed out Quato, but he's actually Hauser, and the Quaid was the implant, and the Hauser is not the and you're just like, okay, cool. I love it, but it's just this is the movie that keeps on giving. You know how some movies kind of start to fade in the third act? It's like you don't really learn any more information. It's just the big epic fight scene. This movie keeps giving you information until the very last fucking scene of the movie. So you don't get bored. And that's what I love about it. So what do you think about that left swizzle that of information that we got?
To this day, I don't know how I feel about it because I do feel I do feel that it is unnecessarily complicated. Not even in a good way. But with that being said, I do appreciate that this movie in the third act keeps the audience wondering and keeps the audience on its toes. So I do agree with you on that point. I just don't know if I agree with the way that the screenplay writer added so many twists and turns in the third act of this movie. I don't know if I can get fully on board with that.
Oh, okay. Yeah. No, I loved it because I get bored really easily, as you know. As soon as
Yes, I
I'm
do.
bored, it's like, I check out. So yeah, I loved it. So anyway, they end up putting Quaid and Melina in the recall machine chairs. Now they put Melina in the recall machine chairs because they want to erase her memory and turn Melina into like Hauser's girlfriend, right? So they put them in the machine, and then Cohagen is informed that the sector he shut off the air to will run out in an hour and everyone will die. And he's like, fuck him. And it's like, but it's an integral part of information because now we know in an hour these people are going to die. So now we have the ticking time bomb, which is like essential to movies or good movies where it's like, okay, they've only got an hour. How are they going to get out? How are they going to escape? How are they going to get the reactor on? And how long is it going to take them to do that? Right. So now it's like this whole end of the third act. And then Quaid and Melina end up escaping, beating the shit out of everybody. That's just what I've written. So what do you think?
I love the storytelling mechanic that in the third act, the writer gives the story a ticking time bomb. I feel that this movie only speeds up after that, and it's just a race to the finish. It's absolutely wonderful. It's so well crafted. Like, I don't understand why this screenplay isn't studied in screenplay writing class, if you believe in that sort of thing, because everything that this movie does is things that a burgeoning screenplay writer should be aware of from a storytelling point of view. And I just think that today's storytellers try and find the easiest way to complete their stories, and they don't really take time to both entertain the audience on the screen, but entertain the audience on the page.
Yeah.
Is critical even before you get to the big screen. And I do think that this script must have been a brilliant read on the page way before it was a brilliant movie on the screen. I mean, do you agree?
Yeah. No, I agree. And I think you're right. I think it should be. There are only certain scripts that should be shown in screenwriting class to teach screenwriting. This is one of them, and I think people bypass it because, it's just an Arnie sci-fi movie, but it's not, because it's such good storytelling. Like the scripts that I would show if I was running a screenwriting class, and this isn't all of them, but this is just 3 that come into my head. I would do Psycho, I would do Girl Interrupted, and I would do Total Recall. And I would break down every single element and every single bit of the script to show this is how you write character, this is how you write an interesting story. What scripts would you put in if you're running a screenwriting class?
I will go with Lawrence of Arabia.
Oh, Okay. I haven't seen that. Is that blasphemy?
That I love you. I want you to know that, but that's just because
I just don't know. I don't think I would I don't know. I feel like I would fall asleep or something. You know what I mean?
you might. The Abyss
Mm. Mm-hmm.
and oh fuck,
Oh,
Schindler's
doesn't have it.
Schindler's List.
Okay, Schindler's List. Okay, another one I haven't seen, so that's good.
Damn, that was hard. Fuck.
Yeah. Yep. That's pretty funny, actually. Moving on with the movie. Quaid and Melina get to the reactor, and we learn that the core of Mars is actually ice, and the reactor melts the ice, turning it into oxygen. And you're like, oh, I love that. It's so cool. It's not, it could have been stupid. It could have been cheesy. It wasn't. It wasn't, because it was something that scientifically, yeah, that could actually happen. Like, it's realistic. So Cohagen's men are there because they want to stop Quaid. Quaid walks into an ambush and gets shot from every angle. But oh no, it's the mirror image watch thingy. And from the beginning, and you're like, oh, yay, he's using it. So that was a cool thing. And then Melina uses it afterwards, which is like even cooler because you don't even know that she has it, and she has it and she uses it. Then Quaid steps out. Actually, there's a funny scene where he steps out and there's like a few more like military guys, and they turn their guns on him, and he starts laughing. He goes, "Oh, you think this is the real me? It is." And he just blows them away. I'm like, yeah, man, kill him, Arnie, kill him. Yeah, I'm not right in the head, actually. Anyway,
Whoa.
kill him, Arnie. Kill him.
Just to defend my fellow co-host, I was smiling from ear to ear throughout this whole movie.
Me too.
Like every time Arnie randomly killed somebody, I was just hooping and hollering. It was so fun.
Yeah. So Quaid gets to the reactor thingy to turn it on. Now, to turn it on, it looks like a little alien imprint hand. So he's got to put his hand in and like press the thing down, which I thought was really cool. It could have been a button, but it wasn't. Do you know why it wasn't? Because they went hard in this movie. They didn't have to, but they fucking went hard, because you're watching a sci-fi movie about implanted memories, and then this whole fucking alien sub-story fucking happens, and then this like political unrest happens on Mars, and it's so layered. I just love it. So when he gets to the thing, Cohagen is there, and he tells him, if you turn it on, Mars will go into meltdown. And then Melina turns around and just fucking shoots him. Fuck you. I love her. She just shoots him. He's not dead, but she's just like, I didn't want to hear this anymore. So she shoots him, and then a bomb goes off, which cracks the mountain, and it starts sucking the oxygen out of the mountain. And we know what happens when oxygen gets sucked out. Everything goes like, it's like in space. Everything kind of gets sucked out of the room. So there's this huge like action scene where Quaid is trying to get to the reactor to turn it on, and he turns on the reactor, and they both get sucked out of the mountain. But when he turns it on, the reactor starts heating up, and then it lowers into the ice, melting it, but it's quite slow. So the oxygen starts coming out of the mountain, starts bursting out of the mountain, but it takes a minute for it to actually reach the people that don't have air, and to reach Quaid and Melina, who are currently suffocating. It doesn't look very fucking pleasant. So it bursts out of the mountain, and the oxygen hits them. And I love this. I know it's a reverse shot. I get it, but it still looks good. So you've got this shot of like Melina and Quaid, and it's like this puppetry of them, of their eyes popping out of their heads, and their face is about to burst. And then as the oxygen hits them, their faces slowly turn back to normal. And I guess it's like a reverse thing, but it looks really, 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 really cool, and I love it. And now everybody can breathe, and nobody can believe it, because nobody knew that was there, because it's not like it was said. And all the whole dome is broken, and everybody can just breathe the air now. Cohagen is dead. Bye, Cohagen. And that was it. Oh, and then Quaid turns to Melina and says, I don't know if this is real or not. And she says, well, kiss me quick. And then he kisses her, and it's like that typical 80s, that's the last scene. Trivia?
Go ahead.
So this script went through 40 drafts and 7 directors.
No. Just no.
No, just no.
40 drafts? Unacceptable. No fucking way.
Yeah. So
No way.
this one is interesting. This is why it went through so many people. the writers of this movie, Ronald Shusett and Dan O'Bannon, they started writing this in, I think it was like 1974 or something. They realized that it was just too expensive and they just didn't have they didn't know how they were going to film Mars. Like, how are you going to do it? You didn't have CG, and they're like, no, this is too expensive. Nobody's going to take it on. So they wrote half of it and then they put it in the drawer. They were like, yeah, no, nobody's going to do this. And then they started working on another movie called Alien.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and that was easier because it was just basically on a ship.
Oh, holy shit. It's all making sense now.
Right. Now, the reason it went through 40 drafts and 7 directors is because it was so expensive to make. And a director came on, they're like, oh, no, I don't know if I can do this. And it just went through so many drafts of taking out things and putting things back in. And that's why it took so fucking long. It took like 10 years for someone to go, yeah, okay, we'll do it. Sharon Stone did all her own stunts in Total Recall and actually trained in martial arts to the point that Arnold Schwarzenegger was so impressed by how much athleticism she was putting into her small role. And Sharon Stone was actually inducted into the Stunt Woman Association as an honorary member.
As if I needed another reason to love that woman. I mean, good goddamn girl. Oh my God, that is so wonderful to hear. Listen, guys, it's so great to hear stories about actors that go in all the way, that jump in with both fucking feet, and want to put on the best performance that they possibly can for the character that they're asked to play. That is so wonderful to hear. I love it.
I love it. In the book, Quaid is actually like a scrawny office worker. Until Arnie wanted the role. He got the script and he's like, no, I want to do the role. So they had to change him to a construction worker because obviously Arnie is not believable as an office worker. So in the book, he's an office worker. But in the movie, obviously, he's a construction worker. So they had to change it. But that's apparently the only thing really they changed because it's actually really, really close to the book. Paul Verhoeven, they filmed in Mexico, right from the start, got food poisoning. And he had food poisoning through the entire shoot. Right to the end, to the point where he had to have an ambulance on stand on the side, just in case he needed it, right? Because the studio wouldn't let him take a day off because they told him for every day you take off, we're deducting $150,000 from your budget. So he couldn't take days off, and he worked like to the point where the cast and crew were like, is he okay? But the funniest thing is, most of the cast and crew, I think it was all of the cast and crew initially actually got food poisoning. Paul Verhoeven just got it the worst. The only person that didn't get food poisoning was Arnold Schwarzenegger. And the reason he didn't get food poisoning is because he had every single thing that he ate catered from the US. Every other person ate Mexican food and drank the water, and they got food poisoning.
Guys, what the hell? Don't you know any better when you go into a foreign country? What's the first thing that they tell you not to do?
Don't drink the water.
Don't eat the food or the water.
Yeah.
Like seriously? But look, the fact that the studio said that they're going to take X amount of money, like,
fucked, right?
Really?
Yeah.
Fuck you. And Paul Verhoeven, as an adult, is becoming one of my favorite directors because the more I hear about this man, and the more I talk about the more I hear about this man, and the more that I discuss his films, the more and more I love him. He just sounds like such a fucking champion. I love this man.
Yeah, the fact that he was able to get out this iconic movie being extremely sick the whole way through is just a testament to his directorial skills. That's the end of my trivia. If you like what we have to say, you can email us at themixtapepod@aol.com. We hope you've enjoyed, and please subscribe. We love you. And please like our videos. And if you want to come back next week, we are finally doing my favorite movie in this collection. We are doing Back to the Future Part 2. It is my favorite. I am excited. I saw this so many times as a kid. So if you like the Back to the Future trilogy, come and join us. We'll be talking about that. And as I say often, as I say every week, if someone is kind enough to make you a mixtape, that must mean that they really love you. The Mixtape Podcast is a Balloonhead Productions presentation.